Hello, BookTube. Just last night, I had a raucous Steve stream. It was lots of fun, at least until we were interrupted by a sustained, piercing, terrified human scream. Like I said last night, I'm never going to be able to convince anyone who was on that stream that I don't live in hell. Sirens are bad enough. There was a sustained, terrified human scream on the live stream last night. So all I can tell you is I appeal to the record of the people who have actually been here, many of whom are booktubers. They will attest it is a quiet, peaceful, friendly neighborhood. It is not hell. It just, everything shows up for the live stream. But last night, well, one thing came up from me that dominated the live stream that I wanted to clarify, which is that right at the beginning of the live stream, somebody came on and asked me a "Have you read?" question. Now, if you're a long time viewer of this channel, you know I don't like "Have you read?" questions. I do nothing but read, and I've done nothing but read for longer than your parents have been alive. So a "Have you read?" question it's certainly a waste of time. It's almost always also a tacit insult. But last night's "Have you read?" question, right at the beginning of the Steve stream, was, "Have I ever read Herodotus?" Which blew me away and still does. But I want to clarify, and I'll clarify in another video today as well, just in case nobody watches this one, that at the end of that Steve stream, after the piercing, prolonged human scream of terror and agony, I said that there weren't going to be any live streams for a while. I want to stress that I was not saying that because of the Herodotus "Have you read?" question. Okay, just so we know, I wasn't saying it because of that. But another subject that came up on that live stream last night was the ongoing battle that I'm having with my books and how it has reached a fever point. A point where I need to do something about it, where I don't know what I have and the books are on the verge of going out of control. The print and paper books that I have here, as opposed to the thousands and thousands of books that are very just domestically encapsulated in this thing, in my Kindle, weightlessly, ready at beck and call to find anything, to organize anything anywhere, just highlight to my heart's content and send it to my email. The print and paper books, I said all last night, were getting out of control. So I did this morning the thing you would naturally expect me to do. I went to my bookstore. I went to the Rattle Bookshop and got my books. My heart is clear on the subject. My mind is free of imputations of hypocrisy because Ragnarok is coming. Whether I get books or not, Ragnarok is coming. But I had errands to run. I had a whole stack of stuff to mail out. So I went out and did errands. An absolutely gorgeous morning, it's crisp as autumn. This whole week, it's crisp as autumn, which is not going to stay true. Typically speaking, Massachusetts gets like this in August, and then we have a heat wave. And then we have an Indian summer heat wave that lasts just a few days. But it sure is lovely while it's happening to go and have the weather is not fighting you. That was wonderful. So I went to the Brattle Bookshop. Those of you who are new to the channel, it's a used bookstore in downtown Boston. It's wonderful. Full of stock that's always changing, and also with a sale lot next door with thousands of books for $1, $3, and $5. I spend most of my time out in the sale lot. I love it. It's not organized in any way except by price, so it's a browser's paradise if you've got the time. And I did. So I went and I did that, and I got a gigantic pile of books. This does not change my bookish Ragnarok. It does not change that. I fully admit that some of the things that are in this pile are reads only, and then off they'll go. I use the Brattle as a kind of slow motion library where there's no due date, but where I am not expecting to keep every book that I get. Quite a few of these books I'm sure will be like that. The goal, of course, with any Brattle trip is to get a bunch of books that aren't like that, to get keepers. But I got a lot. I got a lot of stuff here. Let's deal with the paperbacks first. I found a paperback of The Instrumentality of Mankind by Cordwainer Smith in these great old Del Rey paperbacks. This is a collection of short stories by the science fiction author Cordwainer Smith. This is not everything. The best of Cordwainer Smith is everything. This has Mark Elf. It has Think Blue, Count 2. The Colonel Who Came Back from Nothing at All. Drunk Boat. And other things. This collection has things that are not in the best of Cordwainer Smith, that aren't part of more distant parts of his old idea of a future world that is ruled by a governing party called the Instrumentality. Cordwainer Smith is wonderful. I didn't remember off the top of my head when I saw this if I had it, so I grabbed it. And I also found another one of those Del Rey best of. Lester Del Rey put together a line of mass market paperbacks called Classic Science Fiction. I really wish that somebody would reprint them all. I really wish that they would. It was a great series. And I once had them all. Once upon a time I had them all. I now grab them whenever I see them because they are rarer and rarer. And start some of them to fetch prices. Genuine substantial prices on eBay, which is ridiculous. The best of Cordwainer Smith was in that Classic Science Fiction series. And today I found one. I found the best of Eric Frank Russell. Oh, this with this weird cover here. Again, as with the last of these that I found, it's a little bit off. It feels a little bit off to me. Eric Frank Russell was, when I think of him, I think of quasi-horror fantasy, not so much science fiction. I mean, he did whatever he could. He was pounding on his typewriter a lot. But his stuff is weirder and more surreal than most vintage science fiction. So, but I haven't read any Eric Frank Russell in so long, and not in so long. So it's going to be a joy to go through this. And slowly but surely, I am getting a bunch of these. They all had the title off to the corner like that, except for Cordwainer Smith. They all had it off to the corner like that. And I have about 6 of these. There are about 30. I'd like to find a lot more of them, but I'll grab them when I can. Then I found 2 trade paperbacks. One is something that I have as an ebook, of course. You can get it from Project Gutenberg for free. But the minute I saw this Penguin trade paperback, I wanted it. It's the thing I want the most. This is lovely. It's Erskine Childers, and this is The Riddle of the Sands. This is his classic espionage novel, the one that started it all. But look at this volume. I've never seen this before. That is absolutely lovely. I didn't hesitate. I get it. I'll give it a reread. Then the other trade paperback, this could be the find of the day. There are a couple of things in here there are quite a few things in here that are very Steve books. But this one could be the find of the day. This is by Elsbreg de Camp, and this is Dark Valley Destiny. It's Elsbreg de Camp's biography of Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan. And I have heard about this thing. I have talk to people who own a copy and whose the spine is broken. They go back to it over and over again. But I've never seen it in a used bookstore. Never. I saw it today, just sitting there, and I grabbed it right away. So because this is the 3rd Robert E. Howard biography that I now own. And that's terrific. I'm happy to have them. Absolutely happy to have them. They all take a different tack. Howard didn't live a very long life, and it was a fairly simple life. It was a little bit of traveling, but it was mostly just sitting and writing. But the thing that is, as you could expect from Elsbreg de Camp being involved in this, the thing that makes Dark Valley Destiny stand out among Robert E. Howard books is how good it is about the works. Not every Robert E. Howard book is. This one is superb with the works. So this may very well be the find of the day, because I never see it. Never. Then we can look at some Steve books. So, I mean, I'm Steve, so you would expect me to get Steve books at the Brattle. I found a 2-volume work by Henry James. Nonfiction. That I love. I have it, but I don't have it like this. I found the 2-volume box set with dust jackets of his biography of Charles Eliot, who was president of Harvard for 30 years. There he is. There's President Eliot, which is what everybody called him. When James was doing this book, everybody called him President Eliot. He was a foremost figure in the country in the 1890s, say. If you were, I don't know, going to some big speaking gala in Boston or New York City, and you were told that the president was going to be giving your remarks, people would get all excited. Oh man, I didn't know that. Now I think my ticket price was a steal. And then they're told that it's President McKinley. And they're, that president. I thought you meant President Eliot. I thought you meant, that's how commonplace it was now. This was not a time when the president of Harvard was an obvious, stupid diversity hire who had to be booted in 3 weeks for plagiarism. This was when the president of Harvard was a serious person. And President Eliot did a huge amount to change Harvard University. And Henry James wrote a big, long biography of him that is really good. And I have these 2 volumes, but not in a box set and not with dust jackets. So happy to have it. I'll just get rid of my older 2 volumes. Same thing with these next 2. There was, for a long time ago, there was a Boston, or rather a book critic called John J. Chapman. A great guy, hysterical, a tale teller, but also a fantastic member of my community, of my profession, the world of letters. A fantastic book guy, man of letters, essayist, all that sort of stuff, a book reviewer even, but also a correspondent. He was just amazing. You could tell right away, you could tell from when he was a teenager, that his facility for prose was remarkable, maybe the most remarkable of his generation. And I found both the selected writings of John J. Chapman, edited by Jacques Bourzoon, had a little bit of actually a lot of sun discoloration there, but I'll just put a covering over this, and also John J. Chapman and his letters. By M.A. DeWolf Howe, that we've met before on this channel. This thing is in perfect condition with a plastic covering on it. That's pretty amazing. I will put a covering over this thing and make it nice and clean. But I have this thing. I had an older copy of this thing, but not in perfect condition with a dust jacket and a plastic covering. It was a ratty old hardcover. I can improve it. I knew these things were duplicates. All 3 of these are duplicates, but they are improving, and that means they are not harming the whole oncoming book Ragnarok, because the old copies are going out and these are keepers. I'm not going to keep the doubles. I'm going to get rid of the doubles. Then this next one is also a double. I had a paperback of this, but I go back to it more often than I would ordinarily think. Certainly more often than I want its author to know. This is Book Business by Jason Epstein. And it's a thin memoir of about his time in the publishing world and all the famous people that he knew and all the big names that he can drop. I loathe Jason Epstein. He's dead now, but he was a loathsome, horrible, grating, reprehensible individual. But he did more for the democratization of letters in America than even President Eliot did. His contributions to what you consider the bookish world, his efforts to put books into the hands of the people and away from the ivory tower, to get them everywhere, to make everyone reading, have virtually no parallel in the history of American letters. So I give him his due. Also, he was an inspiring force behind the establishment of the New York Review of Books, and I give him his due for that as well. His stories here can be a little insufferable, but they are pretty electric. So I knew that I wanted a double. It is a keeper in the book section, and the paperback can just go away. So all of these are not extravagant purchases. And the Robert E. Howard book certainly is not. Just defending myself here. Then this next one is an example of England in Pictures, which we've seen before. It's a series of thin hardcovers that deal with all kinds of little subjects. They are the Wikipedia of their day. Very easy to put together, probably very popular. Country Houses of England, Birds of England, Dogs of England, that sort of thing. And this is English essayists. Had no idea this volume existed. And they're tiny little things. And all they do is just take you through the various English writers. So there is C.K. Chesterton confronting his younger self. And you get little potted paragraphs. There's Thomas de Quincey. You get little potted profiles of these people and a few quotes from them. Not a keeper. Also doesn't take up much space. But it's not a keeper. I'm just interested in seeing what tone, what tack the writer takes, and then off it will go. Some of these others are keepers, because I mentioned last time, the last Brattle Hall, that there seemed to be a thread of my kind of writing, of John J. Chapman, of books of collected writings about books and authors. I love that kind of thing. Oh my God, I love it so much. I have a huge collection of it myself, and I do it I also produce that kind of writing. And I found, once again, by digging around a little, I found a lot more out in the sale lot. I found, for instance, this thing, which I have not had in, good Lord, when did this come out? 1980. This is Ideas on the Novel by the great, my gal, Mary McCarthy. Tiny little thing. I think this was a lecture. It's a tiny little thing about novelists. It's a rambling, sharp-elbowed, knocking off the china, ramble through some novelists and what they do wrong and what they do right. I haven't read this in a million years. Cannot wait to reread it and annotate it. Now that I have a lovely copy, with that somebody put, this is an ex-library copy, so somebody put a covering over this, and it was last checked out in July of 1983. So it's now found a home. I also found this thing. This is Stuart Hampshire. Once upon a time, a big deal. Nobody remembers his name now, but he was a philosophy wonk. So I don't have any interest in reading any of what he wrote, except that, like everybody else who has any kind of profile as a man of letters or a woman of letters, he also wrote reviews on the side. You never lose that. Once you get it, you never lose it. Somebody will send you a basket full of books, and would you be interested? Any of these? We'll take it. You're a big name. Once you are in that world, you don't leave it. You might shape it to your own taste, as I am trying to do, but you won't leave it. And Stuart Hampshire is the name of this professor, and he didn't leave that world either. So he put out this book, Modern Writers and Other Essays. This is mostly just periodical stuff for the New York Review of Books, where he would write, somebody would come out with a new biography of, I don't even know, V.S. Pritchett or a new novel by Norman Mailer or something like that, and he would just write about it for them. 3,000 words. You get £100 or $100, and it's reliable, and it's, you sat down in your study and did it. No writer, almost all writers come from poverty. And so no writer ever loses the taste for making that side money. They just never do. So I've never had a collection of Stuart Hampshire. I don't think I've read more than a handful of his stuff in the New York Review of Books and probably don't remember it. So nice to have a collection of it. Then also I found more Stanley Edward Hyman. This is the husband of Shirley Jackson, and this is another one of his books. This is actually the book that I want the most. Never seen this before used. This is Standards. And it is just a collection of his small newspaper book reviews. Look at the size of all the things that are in here. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of them. He dedicates this book to Shirley Jackson, but this is Hyman coming as close to me as he can get. So this will have reviews of. He was very much a Junkyard Dog type of reviewer. Him and Melvin Murdoch and a whole bunch of other people that I could name, but not others, not John Aldridge, not a couple of these other people, where he would just review anything. I don't need to be a specialist to review Robert Fitzgerald's translation of the Iliad, for instance, or A New Life of Tom Fielding. I don't need to be a specialist to do that. I'm a book reviewer. The reader isn't going to be a specialist, so it stands to reason that I don't need to be one. And he's wonderful at it. And now I have this book, so that's wonderful. And then the last example of that kind that I found today was too beautiful for me to pass up. I'm pretty sure that I have a paperback version of this, but this was too lovely to pass up. This is also a collection of book reviews by a writer who had gone on to do bigger and better things. Only this is lovely in a hardcover with just a lovely design to it. This is A Writer's Eye, and the book reviewer is no less than Eudora Welty. This is just her reviewing whatever Bob Silvers or whoever sent her. We've got a new thing. We're wondering if you would like to review it. So this is her collected book reviews. Fantastic. This is not complete. I'll be interested to see. Who is this? Pearl Amelia McHaney edits this. I'll be interested to see if she actually claims that this is complete. I know that it's not. But, oh my, how utterly thrilling. Just utterly thrilling. So there's a lot of book review stuff here. But that's one of the things that I like. Then I took a flyer. The book's $1. You can easily get stuff on a whim. Of course, that leads to your book collection getting out of control. But I'm going to take care of that, so I don't need to worry about it. But I got this thing. Deborah Cadbury, this is her book, Princess at War, about the princes of the House of Windsor during World War II. This is an ex-library copy, so I'm going to have to take the jacket off of this thing take the covering off of the jacket, get all of that stuff off. All of that is taped onto the dust jacket of the book. Then put the covering back on. No more than 15 minutes work to do. And I seem to remember liking this book. I'm pretty sure that I reviewed it and liked it. And so I saw it at the Brattle, and I haven't given it... actually, we can tell whether or not I read it, because did it occur when I was back in reviewing? Yeah, 2015. So before we were talking to each other, but I'm pretty sure that I reviewed this. If I can remember, I will leave a link to it down below. But I want to give it another try, absolutely. And then a book that I not only like, but absolutely love. I never did review it, although I did get into the reviewing world in time to review this author and also to talk with him. But this is Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin. This is his absolute masterpiece. An incredible, phantasmagorical novel about turn of the 20th century New York City and parts north, and a giant white horse named Alastor, and the people whose lives are animated by dreams. This is just an absolutely incredible, incredible novel. And I got it because I saw this lovely hardcover, which is where I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it looking like this, and thought, I'm not 100% sure if I have this, which is a side effect of having too many print and paper books. That's how I noticed there was a problem in the first place. Because I know I have a mental card catalog of what I have and don't have. So it was $1, so I grabbed it. I got it back here and realized I do have another copy of this. I have another hardcover exactly like this. So this is up for grabs. If one of you is intrigued by this novel and wants a hardcover copy, well, I'd be happy to send it to you, provided that you adhere to the 3 criterion that I lay down for mailing out books. Number 1 being, you have to know where you live. You have to be able to give me your address, your mailing address, and it has to be correct. One of the packages that I mailed out this morning, the guy at the counter at the post office had to tell me that the person who gave me their address got their zip code wrong. He had to fix it. He had to fix the zip code. He said, "Do you want to confirm this?" I said, "I don't know where this guy lives. If your machine tells you that he's got it wrong, then yeah, let's fix it." So, criterion number 1 is you have to know where you live. You have to give me a correct address for where you live on the first try. Thing number 2 is that you have to live in the lower 48 contiguous states of the United States. If this thing goes out over water, it will be lost. And thing number 3 is you actually have to want the book. It can't be a whim. It can't be, a giveaway, free, I'll do it. It can't be, I might take it, Captain Casual. It can't be anything like that. You have to want it. But if you fit those 3 criteria, and I now have an extra copy of this, as you can see, it's in perfect condition. So I'd be happy to mail it out. And then finally, the last thing here, this has obviously been in somebody's attic or basement for a long time. It's in pretty dirty shape. So probably I will just read and laugh my way through it and then get rid of it and wait for a perfect copy in pristine condition with a dust jacket, which I will certainly see. The Brattle will provide. But I found another New Yorker cartoonist collection. I love the old New Yorker cartoons. And I think love is a mild term. I adore them. I think they're a language unto themselves. And I collect collections of New Yorker cartoons, but also anthologies of single cartoonists. And I found one for Peter Arno. Peter Arno's Parade. See, this, I believe it or not, I've already cleaned this thing, and it's still just an absolute mess. But the cartoons themselves, it's nice and generous. It's from the 1920s, I believe. So it's a cartoon per page. Yeah, 1929. And this will be a joy to page through. I don't think I'll keep it. It feels a little bit old, might have things living in it. So I won't put it near any of my other books. I won't shelve it and forget about it. I think I'll just go through it and then maybe put it on the discard pile. But anyway, that was it. That was a Brattle book haul, which you would think would be the last thing I would do, considering the Steve stream that I had last night. You would think the last thing I would do would go out and get more books. But I'm completely confident. I'm confident of the strength of Ragnarok. When it comes, it will sweep all this chaff aside. It will sweep all chaff aside. And it will keep the things I really want. So we have Peter Arno's Parade. We have an extra copy of Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin, a book I cannot praise high enough. We have Princes at War by Deborah Cadbury. Modern Windsor History. I'm sure I didn't miss it. We have The Writer's Eye by Eudora Welty. Standards by Stan Hyman. We've got Modern Writers by Stuart Hampshire. We have a slim book where Mary McCarthy just gets to rant about novels and novelists that she knows. Oh, that's got library stuff on it too. Well, I'll get rid of that. A little England in Pictures. We've got essayists, English essayists, just a trifle. Book Business by Jason Epstein in hardcover. That's fantastic. We've got John J. Chapman and his letters, and also the selected writings of John J. Chapman with a nice long introduction by Jacques Barzoon. Oh God, no, next one's a box set, so that won't work. We've got this heavy box set of President Eliot by Henry James. So I will strengthen this box, and I will also take each one of these individual volumes out and put jackets on them, put plastic coverings on them, and then this will just sit there. The nice thing about a box set is that you don't have to put it on a shelf. It can go anywhere. It's got molecular cohesion of its own. Then Dark Valley Destiny, a biography of Robert E. Howard. Fantastic. This is just fantastic. If it didn't have so much competition from Mary McCarthy, I think it would probably be the thing I would read tonight. Then paperbacks, Riddle of the Sands, and this lovely Penguin trade paperback, and some science fiction. Eric Frank Russell and Cord Rayner Smith to add to, just science fiction bookcase. So there you go. I went to the Brattle. I got a bunch of books. They seem on one level to add to the problem, but they do not add to the problem. I'm going to fix the problem. And then I'm going to infinitely worsen the problem by getting 200 books in October. But then I'm going to fix the problem again. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. It was a beautiful day. It was wonderful to be out there. Let me know about Winter's Tale, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.